Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. My name is Emma Rodriguez, and I'm 28 years old. 3 weeks ago, I was a clinical research coordinator at Helix Biomedical in San Diego, California. I had a small apartment in North Park, a routine I loved, and a job that felt meaningful. I was helping develop treatments that could save lives. Or at least, that's what I thought I was doing. Thursday, October 12th started normally. I arrived at the Helix facility at 7:30 a.m., swiped my badge at the security entrance, and took the elevator to the 4th floor where the Oncology Research Division occupied a sterile maze of laboratories and offices. I had coffee from the break room, checked my emails, and prepared to process the latest round of clinical trial data for Protocol 77, a promising new treatment for aggressive pancreatic cancer. My job was straightforward: collect blood samples from trial participants, log the results, input data into our clinical database, and flag any anomalies for the medical team to review. I'd been doing it for 2 years. It was meticulous work, but I was good at it. Before we go further, make sure you subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. Dr. Rebecca Foster was my lab director, a brilliant oncologist who'd been with Helix for 6 years. She was in her mid-40s, always professional, always focused on the science. She wore her dark hair in a tight bun, kept reading glasses on a chain around her neck, and had a photo of her twin daughters on her desk. She was demanding but fair, and she genuinely cared about the patients in our trials. That's why what happened at 9:17 a.m. was so shocking. I was in Lab 4C, processing blood work from the Protocol 77 participants. We had 37 patients enrolled, all late-stage pancreatic cancer, all given fewer than 8 months to live by their original oncologists. The experimental drug, designated HC-477, was supposed to slow tumor growth and extend survival. I ran the first batch of samples through the analyzer and waited for the results to populate on my screen. When the data appeared, I stared at it for a long moment, confused. Patient 014, white blood cell count critically low. Liver enzymes elevated 400% above baseline. I frowned. That was unusual, but not necessarily alarming. Cancer treatments often affected blood counts. I moved to the next result. Patient 022, kidney function declining. Tumor markers increased 300%. My stomach tightened. Tumor markers weren't supposed to increase. They were supposed to stabilize or decrease. I checked the next 5 patients. All showed similar patterns: declining organ function, elevated tumor markers, dropping blood counts. This wasn't right. I pulled up the previous week's results for comparison. Patient 014 had been stable. Patient 022's tumor markers had been declining. What changed? I was still staring at the screen when Dr. Foster appeared beside my workstation. She moved so quietly I hadn't heard her approach. Emma. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Come with me. Now. Dr. Foster, I was just about to flag these results. The Protocol 77 patients are showing, I know what they're showing. She glanced toward the lab entrance. My office. Immediately. Her tone left no room for argument. I saved my work and followed her down the hallway. But instead of going to her office, she led me to a small supply closet on the far end of the floor. She pulled me inside and closed the door. In the dim light from a single overhead bulb, I could see that Dr. Foster looked terrified. She pressed a manila folder into my hands. Take this. Leave the building now. Don't come back. Don't go home first. Just drive. What? Dr. Foster, I don't understand. They know you saw the results. You accessed files you weren't supposed to see. Her hands were shaking. Emma, Protocol 77 isn't what you think it is. What do you mean? It's a cancer treatment trial. It's a medical experiment disguised as a treatment trial. HC-477 isn't designed to treat cancer. It's designed to accelerate it. She gripped my shoulders. Every patient in Protocol 77 is being poisoned. Systematically. And you just pulled up aggregate data that proves it. The folder nearly slipped from my hands. That's impossible. We're regulated by the FDA, reviewed by ethics boards. The ethics board is compromised. So is the FDA inspector assigned to our facility. This goes all the way to the top. Dr. Marcus Trent, Helix's chief medical officer, is running an illegal pharmaceutical trial using terminal patients as test subjects. They're collecting data on accelerated tumor growth for a competitor company. It's worth millions. My mind reeled. Dr. Trent was a respected oncologist, published in major medical journals. He'd given the keynote speech at last year's Cancer Research Conference. Why would he kill patients who are already dying? Because the pharmaceutical company paying him wants to understand aggressive tumor progression. They're developing a different drug and needed human data. Trent recruited patients who were already terminal, people with nothing to lose, desperate for hope. He promised them experimental treatment. Instead, he's using them as lab rats. I felt sick. How many patients? 37 in your trial. But there are others. Protocol 55, Protocol 63, at least 90 patients total over the past 18 months. Dr. Foster's voice cracked. I only discovered it 3 weeks ago when I noticed discrepancies in survival data. I started investigating. Yesterday, I found proof, contracts between Trent and Genpharm Industries, payments totaling $8.4 million. We have to report this. Call the police, the FDA. I tried. I contacted the FBI field office in Los Angeles 2 days ago. An agent named Sarah Vickers. But Emma, someone inside Helix found out. Yesterday, my car was tampered with, brake lines cut. This morning, I found surveillance equipment in my home. She thrust the folder at me harder. This is everything: patient files, contracts, payment records, internal emails. You need to get this to Agent Vickers. Why me? Why not just give it to the agent yourself? Because they're watching me. I won't make it out of this building with evidence. But you might. You're lower profile. They don't know you're involved yet. She stopped. Except you access the aggregate data. That triggers an automatic alert to Dr. Trent's office. Ice flooded my veins. When? The moment you pulled up those comparison results. Maybe 10 minutes ago. She grabbed my arm. Leave now. Take the back stairwell to the parking garage. Don't use the elevator. Don't stop at your desk. Agent Vickers' contact information is in the folder. Dr. Foster, come with me. I can't. If we both disappear, they'll know something's wrong. I need to stay here and act normal, buy you time to get away. She opened the closet door and peered out. Emma, your mother was a nurse, wasn't she? The random question confused me. Yes. She worked in pediatric oncology. Why? She died protecting her patients. I looked up her records after I hired you. Margaret Rodriguez testified against a pharmaceutical company that was providing defective chemotherapy drugs. She was killed in what police called a robbery gone wrong 3 weeks before trial. My world tilted. My mother had died 8 years ago. The police said she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, that a random mugger shot her. They never caught anyone. That wasn't random, Dr. Foster said quietly. The pharmaceutical company she exposed was a subsidiary of Genpharm Industries. The same company paying Trent now. Emma, your mother was murdered for trying to expose medical fraud. And if you don't leave right now, you'll end up the same way. She pushed me toward the hallway. Backstairs. Go. I ran. My legs moved on autopilot, the folder clutched against my chest. I hit the stairwell door and took the stairs 2 at a time, my footsteps echoing in the concrete shaft. 4 floors down to the parking garage. Behind me, I heard the stairwell door open again. Heavy footsteps. More than one person. I didn't look back. I burst through the garage-level door and sprinted toward my aging Toyota Corolla. My hands shook so badly I dropped my keys twice before getting the door open. As I started the engine, 2 men in security uniforms appeared at the stairwell entrance. They weren't Helix's usual security guards. These men were bigger, moving with military precision. I threw the car into reverse and slammed on the gas. The Corolla squealed backward, nearly hitting a concrete pillar. I shifted to drive and accelerated toward the exit ramp. In my rearview mirror, the 2 men were running toward a black SUV. I made it to the street and merged into morning traffic, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst. Every car behind me looked suspicious. Every black SUV made me flinch. I drove aimlessly for 20 minutes, making random turns, doubling back, trying to lose anyone who might be following. Finally, I pulled into a busy shopping center parking lot and parked near the entrance to a Target store, surrounded by other cars. My hands were still shaking as I opened the folder Dr. Foster had given me. The first document was a patient roster for Protocol 77. I recognized all 37 names. I'd processed their intake paperwork, collected their blood samples, entered their data. These were real people with families, with lives. They'd come to Helix hoping for a miracle. Instead, they'd been murdered. The next documents were worse. Internal emails between Dr. Trent and executives at Genpharm Industries, discussing accelerated progression data and aggressive tumor modeling. Clinical protocols that described HC 477 not as a treatment but as a tumor growth catalyst. And then payment records. Wire transfers from Genpharm to offshore accounts controlled by Dr. Trent. $8.4 million over 18 months. At the bottom of the folder was a handwritten note from Dr. Foster with a phone number, Agent Sarah Vickers, FBI. Tell her everything. I pulled out my phone and dialed with trembling fingers. The call rang 3 times before a woman answered. Vickers. Agent Vickers? My name is Emma Rodriguez. I worked, at Helix Biomedical. Dr. Rebecca Foster told me to call you. There was a pause. Is Dr. Foster with you? No. She's still at the facility. She gave me evidence about illegal medical trials. She said you were investigating. Where are you right now, Emma? A shopping center parking lot. Off Highway 163. I gave her the intersection. Stay there. Stay in your car. Lock the doors. I'm 20 minutes away. Her voice was calm, authoritative. Emma, did anyone follow you from the facility? I don't know. Maybe. There were 2 men in security uniforms, but they weren't regular guards. Describe them. Big. Military looking. They ran after me in the parking garage. Those aren't Helix employees. Genfarm uses private contractors for security. Listen carefully, if you see anyone approaching your car, anyone at all, drive to the nearest police station immediately. Do you understand? Yes. Good. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Don't hang up. I sat there with the phone pressed to my ear, watching every person who walked past my car. A woman with a shopping cart. A teenager on his phone. An elderly man walking slowly toward the store entrance. Emma? Agent Vickers' voice. Tell me about the evidence Dr. Foster gave you. Patient files. Emails. Payment records. Everything showing that Dr. Trent and Genfarm are running illegal trials, killing patients to collect tumor progression data. How many patients? At least 90. Maybe more. I heard her curse under her breath. Emma, how did you get pulled into this? I'm a clinical research coordinator. I process trial data. This morning I ran blood work for Protocol 77 patients and noticed the results were wrong, tumor markers increasing, organ function declining. When I pulled up comparison data, it triggered some kind of alert. Dr. Foster found me right after and told me everything. You accessed aggregate data? Yes. Why? Because that's restricted information, accessible only to principal investigators and the medical director. When you pulled it up, the system flagged it as unauthorized access. Trent would have been notified immediately. She paused. Emma, you stumbled onto something you weren't supposed to see. Now you're a liability. My mouth went dry. They're going to come after me. Yes. But we're going to keep you safe. I'm 10 minutes out. Stay on the line with me. Those 10 minutes felt like hours. Every car that drove past made my pulse spike. Every person walking through the parking lot could be a threat. Finally, a dark blue sedan pulled up beside my Corolla. A woman in her early 40s got out, professional suit, badge clipped to her belt. She approached my window and held up her FBI identification. Emma Rodriguez? I nodded, unable to speak. I'm Special Agent Sarah Vickers. You can hang up the phone now. I did, my fingers numb. Agent Vickers opened my passenger door and slid into the seat. Show me what you have. I handed her the folder. She flipped through the documents quickly, her expression growing darker with each page. This is solid evidence. Contracts, payments, patient records. Dr. Foster documented everything. She looked at me. Where is Dr. Foster now? Still at Helix. She said if we both left, they'd know something was wrong. She stayed to buy me time. Agent Vickers pulled out her phone and made a call. Torres, I need backup at Helix Biomedical, 4500 Executive Drive. We have a federal witness in imminent danger inside the facility. Send everyone. She listened. Yes, now. She ended the call and turned to me. Emma, I need you to come with me to a federal safe location. We'll debrief you properly there, and I'll arrange protection while we execute warrants. What about Dr. Foster? We'll extract her. But right now, you're the priority. You have the evidence, and you're the witness who can testify about what you saw in those lab results. I followed Agent Vickers to her sedan. She drove quickly but carefully, constantly checking her mirrors. We headed downtown, toward the federal building. Emma, I need to tell you something about your mother, Agent Vickers said as we drove. Margaret Rodriguez. She was a witness in a federal case against a Genfarm subsidiary 8 years ago. She was murdered 3 weeks before she was scheduled to testify. Tears blurred my vision. Dr. Foster told me. The police said it was a robbery. It wasn't. But we couldn't prove it was connected to Genfarm at the time. We've been investigating the company for years, medical fraud, illegal trials, witness intimidation. But they're careful. They use contractors, offshore accounts, shell companies. Every time we get close, evidence disappears or witnesses recant. She glanced at me. Until now. What you have in that folder is the first direct evidence linking Genfarm executives to criminal activity. My mother died trying to stop them. Yes. And now you have a chance to finish what she started. But Emma, these people are dangerous. They've killed to protect their operations before. That's why I need you in protective custody until we can make arrests. We pulled into the underground parking garage of the federal building. Agent Vickers led me through security and up to the FBI field office on the 8th floor. The space was all glass walls and busy agents, phones ringing, people moving with purpose. She brought me to a small conference room. Wait here. I'm going to brief my team and coordinate Dr. Foster's extraction. I sat alone for maybe 5 minutes before Agent Vickers returned with a man in his 50s wearing a FBI windbreaker. Emma, this is Special Agent Frank Chen, my partner. He'll be coordinating your protection detail. Agent Chen shook my hand. Ms. Rodriguez, you're safe here. But I need to ask you some detailed questions about what you saw this morning. For the next 2 hours, I described everything: the blood work results, Dr. Foster's warning, the evidence in the folder, the men who chased me. Agent Chen took meticulous notes, occasionally asking for clarification. Finally, he sat back. You've given us enough for warrants. Judge Martinez is reviewing the application now. We'll have authorization to raid Helix within the hour. Agent Vickers' phone rang. She answered, listened, and her face went pale. When? Are you certain? Understood. She ended the call and looked at me. Emma, I'm sorry. Dr. Rebecca Foster was found dead in her office 30 minutes ago. Apparent suicide. She locked her door and took a massive dose of insulin. The room spun. No, that's not. Dr. Foster wouldn't. We don't believe it was suicide either. But we need an autopsy to prove murder. Agent Vickers' jaw was tight with anger. They killed her to silence her. Just like they killed your mother. I couldn't breathe. Dr. Foster had sacrificed herself to get me out safely. She'd known what would happen when she stayed behind. This is my fault. If I hadn't accessed that data. No. Agent Vickers' voice was firm. This is not your fault. Dr. Foster made a choice to expose a criminal operation. She knew the risks. Don't let her death be meaningless. Agent Chen's phone buzzed. He checked it and stood. We've got the warrants. Federal agents are moving on Helix now. Emma, we're going to take you to a safe house while this operation unfolds. It's going to be a long night. They drove me to a nondescript house in La Jolla, one of several properties the FBI maintained for witness protection. 2 agents were already stationed there, a woman named Martinez and a man named Park. Both were armed. Make yourself comfortable, Agent Martinez said. You'll be here at least a few days. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch watching news coverage of the raid on Helix Biomedical. Dozens of federal agents swarming the building. Employees being led out for questioning. News anchors speculating about serious allegations of medical misconduct. At midnight, Agent Vickers called. We arrested Dr. Marcus Trent at his home. He's refusing to talk without his lawyers, but we seized his computers and financial records. We also arrested 4 GenPharm executives in Los Angeles. The case is breaking wide open. What about the patients? The ones still in the trials? All Protocol 77, 55, and 63 patients have been removed from the studies and are receiving proper medical care. We're notifying families about what happened. Emma, you saved their lives. If you hadn't flagged those results, hadn't taken that evidence, this could have continued for years. But Dr. Foster was dead. My mother was dead. How many others? Agent Vickers, when can I go home? Not yet. We're still rounding up GenPharm's security contractors, the men who chased you. Until they're all in custody, you're not safe. I spent 3 more days in that safe house, giving additional statements, reviewing evidence, helping prosecutors build their case. On the 4th day, Agent Chen arrived with news. We've arrested everyone involved in the operation. Dr. Trent, 6 GenPharm executives, and 12 contractors. You're clear to go home, but we'll maintain a security detail for the next few weeks. Home felt strange and empty. My apartment was exactly as I'd left it that Thursday morning, but everything had changed. I couldn't go back to Helix, the facility was shut down pending investigation. My job was gone. My director was dead. But I had the evidence. And I had a purpose. 2 weeks later, I met with federal prosecutors. They wanted me to testify before a grand jury about what I'd seen in those lab results, about Dr. Foster's warning, about everything in that folder. Your testimony is crucial, Assistant U.S. Attorney David Park explained. You're the witness who discovered the fraud. Your mother was killed trying to expose GenPharm. Now you have a chance to hold them accountable. I testified for 4 hours. I described every detail, the blood work, the tumor markers, Dr. Foster's terror, the chase through the parking garage. I explained how the clinical data proved patients were being systematically poisoned. The grand jury returned indictments against all 14 defendants. Dr. Marcus Trent was charged with murder, medical fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. The GenPharm executives faced similar charges. The trial took place 6 months later. I sat in that federal courtroom and testified again, this time with defense attorneys trying to discredit me. They called me inexperienced, claimed I'd misinterpreted the data, suggested I was motivated by ambition or money. But the evidence didn't lie. Patient files, payment records, emails, all of it corroborated my testimony. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning guilty verdicts on all major counts. Dr. Trent was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. The Genpharm executives received sentences ranging from 15 to 30 years. 8 months after that terrible Thursday, I stood at Dr. Foster's grave in a quiet cemetery overlooking the ocean. I placed flowers on the headstone. "We got them," I whispered. "All of them. The trials are shut down. Genpharm is bankrupt. The patients are getting real treatment now." The ocean breeze rustled through the grass. I thought about my mother, about Dr. Foster, about all the people who died trying to stop medical criminals from profiting off suffering. "You saved me," I told Dr. Foster's grave. "You gave me the evidence and the chance to run. I won't waste it." I'd made a decision during those months of testimony and trials. I enrolled in medical school, night classes while I worked as a consultant for the FBI's healthcare fraud division. Agent Vickers had recruited me personally. "You have a gift for seeing patterns," she'd said. "And you understand that clinical data represents real people. We need investigators like you." On my first day at the FBI office, Agent Chen gave me a badge, not an agent's badge yet, but a consultant credential that let me work on cases. "Your mother would be proud. And Dr. Foster would be thrilled." "I hope so. Emma, what you did, trusting Dr. Foster when she warned you, protecting that evidence, testifying even when it was terrifying, you saved 90 patients' lives. The protocols you helped shut down were scheduled to expand to 3 more facilities. You prevented hundreds of deaths." I touched the badge. I was just doing the right thing. "That's exactly what your mother did. And look what you accomplished together, 8 years apart, but fighting the same battle. You both exposed Genpharm's criminal operations. The company is gone. The executives are in prison. The medical industry has new safeguards because of your testimony." That evening, I visited my mother's grave for the first time in years. I'd avoided it after her death because the pain was too raw. But now I had something to tell her. "We got them, Mom," I said quietly. "Genpharm, the executives, all of them. The company that killed you is gone. The people who murdered you are in prison." I placed flowers on her headstone, next to the small American flag someone had left there, probably the FBI, honoring her as a witness who died serving justice. "Dr. Foster helped me finish what you started. She died protecting me, just like you died protecting your patients. I won't let either of you down." The sun was setting over the cemetery, painting everything gold and orange. For the first time since my mother's death, I felt at peace. I'd learned that danger doesn't always look dangerous. Sometimes it wears a white coat and a respectable title. Sometimes it hides behind medical terminology and institutional authority. But I'd also learned that ordinary people can fight extraordinary evil when they choose to act. My mother had taught me to care about patients as people, not data points. Dr. Foster had taught me to be brave even when being brave meant risking everything. Together, they'd shown me that standing up for what's right is always worth the cost. If this story moved you, subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm Emma Rodriguez. I'm 28 years old. I'm a medical school student and FBI healthcare fraud consultant. And I helped expose a criminal medical operation that had killed patients for profit. Because sometimes, noticing something wrong in the data, seeing patterns that don't make sense, asking questions that need answers, can expose evil that thrived in silence. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Listen when someone risks everything to warn you. And remember that every number in a clinical trial represents a real person with a real life. Your mother died protecting her patients. Your director died protecting you. Now you protect others. That's the legacy worth living for.